Okay, this video is dedicated to my nephew Crow. Crow, these are the tarot cards that I bought for you for Christmas. So I wanted to use them in this lesson. Please look at my other lessons too, but I wanted to use them in this lesson. Ordinarily, I recommend that you get the Universal Weight or Rider Weight deck to start with. But in this case, I bought you these cards, Crow, because your name is Crow. My nephew is named Crow. And if you look, the suit of swords in this deck is represented by crows. You can see there's the Nine of Swords, and she has all those crows over her head. Instead of the traditional Nine of Swords tarot deck has all the swords hanging on a wall. And this represents anxiety, sleepless nights, when, thoughts are sort of hanging around your head and not letting you rest. And so you can see, if you think about the crows as being thoughts, that's how that's represented. So anyway, I'm going to use this deck today, and I'm going to go do the next part of my series in my lessons, which is I wanted to go over aces and the Fool. So aces are the beginnings of something. So if you remember, there's 4 suits. This is minor arcana. Under the 4 suits, you have Ace of Wands represented here. You can see that she's got a little fire in her mind, and you can think of the Ace of Wands as being like that, as like the spark of a new idea. Wands represent fire energy. They represent ideas, passion that comes on quickly. It's not like a more sustained type of passion. It's like the beginning, just like a fire, might just blow up and go out. So Ace of Wands would be the beginning of a new idea or a new passion. Okay. Next we have Ace of Cups. Remember that cups represent emotion. So the Ace of Cups represents a new emotional beginning. This does not always denote a new relationship, but it can denote a new relationship. It is a new emotional beginning. Okay, next we have the Ace of Swords. And like I said, in this deck, we have crows, and there's just one little crow. I don't know if you can see it right up here for the Ace of Swords, but in this deck, Ace of Swords would be the beginning of communication. So we get an idea, we get some emotion behind it, and then we communicate the idea. Aces in general are extremely positive cards. Whenever you get an ace, you can see it as a very good sign, except perhaps if it's in reverse. But if it's upright, an ace is always a positive card. Some of the swords are a little bit on the negative side, but not the Ace of Swords. It's always like mental clarity, the beginning of communication, like pure communication. Like it's not as problematic as some of the swords. And last we have the Ace of Pentacles. Ace of Pentacles is a great card. It represents newness in the pentacle realm, which is money, more solid things, work sometimes. So a Ace of Pentacles a lot of times represents a gift, like a literal gift. Like you get a gift of like money or a diamond or something like that. That's Ace of Pentacles, okay? All right, so those are your 4 aces. Like I said, they are very positive cards, except perhaps when they are in the reverse. The Ace of Wands particularly in the reverse, sometimes represents a sexual problem. Ace of Cups in reverse can represent somebody making a false emotional beginning, like for example, pretending like a false kind of love or something like that. In reverse, because they're so positive in the upright, they are just as negative in the reverse. Ace of Pentacles could represent like an ability to get things to get money going, a block to your money. Um, yeah, did I go over all of them? Oh, Ace of Swords, when it's reversed, can mean miscommunication, thwarted communication, inability to communicate. But like I told you before, you really should be, well, this is how I read tarot. You can read it the way that you want, but I'm teaching you the way that I do it. I make sure that all my cards are upright before I start, because a reversal is a spin on the energy. It's a hyper focus on the energy, and it should take some effort for it to come out that way. Okay, so there's the aces, and the other card that I want to go over with you is the Fool, because the Fool in tarot it's the 0 card. So I'm not sure if the number, oh yeah, see the number is here, it's right there, the Fool, the 0, the number 0. So the major arcana cards are numbered, and the Fool is number 0. It's actually like a non-number. The Fool represents that initial leap that we need to take into the unknown, when nothing is known, consciousness just starting to, just getting there, just getting the new idea. And that is why I wanted to teach it along with the aces, because the Fool is kind of like all of these aces combined. So this is like a brand new start, right? And these are new starts in various things. This is a brand new start. Like I said before I think it was my first lesson, that a major arcana card always trumps a minor arcana card. So if you have a Fool beginning, it's a more important new beginning. It's a much more major new beginning than one of the aces could be by itself. But I wanted to go over that card. And then I'm going to go over some of the other major arcana cards. But I wanted to start with the Fool and the aces. I'm going to go with the Fool. I'm going to show you the Fool's opposite, and keeping with my theme here of being in the Light Seers deck. This is a beautiful deck. Beautiful. I can't tell you how much I like this deck, except that only thing is I wish the manufacturer had made them a little bit more tough. They've already got some bends in them. I do use them a lot, but tarot cards, you know, should be tough enough to take a lot of use. I'm trying to remember what the World card looks like in here. I can always find the World elsewhere. I hope I didn't skip it. But the reason why I'm going to go over the World, there it is. The World is actually, this World card is actually kind of similar to the Rider-Waite. Instead of a naked woman in the center, though, you have a clothed woman in the center, you know, with this circle around. And the circle is important in the World card because this is the completion of a cycle. So the reason why I'm bringing these together is the Fool card is the start of the cycle, the very, very start. And this is the completion of the cycle. Now, this isn't like the Death card completion of a cycle. It's positive. You can think of the World as being an achievement. You completely learn something. You would get the World when you, for example, graduate high school, or you finish something in a good way. It's a completion. This card also represents travel sometimes. So keep that in mind. But the Fool and the World go together because this is the very beginning of the cycle when nothing is known. Everything is unknown, and this is when everything is known, everything is learned. And from this place, of course, you go right back to the Fool, because once you learn everything that there is to learn about something, you just come back around in your cycle and come back to the Fool. So the Fool is not a negative card. We might call somebody a fool when we're being insulting to that person, but the Fool card in tarot is not a negative card. It is a leap of faith, as in the advice position. If you were asking for advice, the Fool would be saying to you, go for it, do it, make it happen. It's about jumping into the unknown, because we have to do that at certain points in our lives. Maybe we don't want to continually be the fool, continually jump into one unknown thing to another unknown thing to another unknown thing. You want to continue out your cycle so that you learn everything that needs to be learned in it. If that was going on, you might get the fool in the reverse. It means that there's a problem with this leap of faith you're trying to take, or you're blinding yourself on your leap of faith. You're going into something blind when you could get more information first. That's when the fool is reversed. Okay. Like I said about the world, we have achievement, you know, the completion of something. If the world is reversed, I would take that. It would really, really depend on the surrounding cards, because the world is an extremely positive card, and it's hard for me to really see this card as being negative. Almost never is it negative. But if the world was reversed, I wouldn't see it as a bad ending, because it just isn't a bad ending. It's not an ending, it's a completion. If the world was reversed, it would say to me that there's a problem with completion. Maybe you're trying to graduate high school and you fail a class, and you might get the world in reverse. Also, when I see the world in reverse, depending on what's going on in the deck, I might consider it to be a problem with travel, because like I said, the world also does represent travel. Sorry, that's my dog and my kid. I'll wait. Okay, I'm going to go over some of the other major arcanas. I'm going to go over our couples. So we have two main couples. I may have gone over this before. Actually, I'm gonna change track a little bit and talk about some of the differences in these cards with the typical Rider-Waite deck, which I consider to be different. The Five of Swords is really different in this deck, and it means something different to me than it does in the traditional Rider-Waite deck. In the traditional Rider-Waite deck, you have somebody looking behind him. He's carrying some swords. He's got a smug look on his face, and he's looking behind him at some people that he's won a battle. He's won a battle, and he's smug about it. It was sort of an empty victory in the Five of Swords, the Rider-Waite Five of Swords. In fact, I'm going to find it for you right now. It denotes an empty victory because here it is, right here. Look at that. Okay, you can see him, how he's looking back. He's got three swords. Those guys that he was fighting, they have their swords on the ground. They lost. He's very smug. There's a lot of like clouds in the air, symbolizing like, you know, some issues with communication. This guy fought this battle, and he won the battle, but it came with a price. It's an empty victory. This Five of Swords always says to me empty victory. It's one of my least favorite cards to get. It means that whoever we're talking about here has won, but at what cost? Like at the cost to their friendships, or at the cost to, you know, it's just a bad way to live your life. It's a petty sort of card. It's a petty sort of energy. Okay? But the difference in this deck is this is not the same guy. We are not looking at this guy in this deck. We are looking at either this guy or this guy. I think, yeah. And if you look, this guy and his energy is in the background. You can see it there. And it's even a shadow. So it's pointing to the fact, what I really like about this card, the way this card is represented here, is it's pointing to the fact that the guy that won the empty victory is standing in his shadow self, because that is a shadow self move. It's when the only reason that you ever get energy like that, where you just want to be smug and just want to be petty and win something like that, is because you have felt the defeat that these guys are feeling. And this guy right here, he's in that defeated energy where it's like he lost. So that's one of the cards that I find to be very different in this deck, and I appreciate it. It doesn't always, like I said, it doesn't always mean the same thing. If you can look, like, you see the crow sitting on his shoulder, kind of talking in his ear, like, you lost that, you suck, you're bad, it's sort of a negative energy. But the other one that I really like, I like this card so much better in this deck, is the Six of Pentacles. I do not like the Six of Pentacles in the Rider-Waite Tarot. I'm not saying I don't like the card, like shouldn't be in the deck or something. I don't like the energy of it. And I also feel that it's usually misrepresented in books. You'll hear people say, oh, it means charity, generosity. But it is a pretty negative card, especially for a pentacle. It's probably one of the more negative pentacle cards. If you look at this card, I mean, is this really charity? Is this really balancing the scales? I mean, you can see that he's holding scales, but the people that he's giving to are literally on their knees. That is not generosity. It is not generosity to give something to somebody when they're on their knees. True generosity takes into consideration the spirit of the person that you're giving to, and that it's an understanding that all giving is equal. Every time you give, you are receiving at the same time that you're giving. The idea that one person gives more to another is an illusion. And that's why I really like this Six of Pentacles right here, because here it is. You can see that looks more like equal give and take. Every time we give of ourselves, we receive something almost instantaneously on a spiritual level. There is really no such thing as, on a spiritual level, as an exchange that isn't equal. That is all physical reality illusion, that one person gives more than the other. Okay, so I went over those two things. Those are the two cards that I feel mean something different, really, in those decks. The other thing that I really like about this deck is, I think I had said before, yes, it's good. It's good to get some books, or to even just listen to what I say the cards mean and go off of that. But the cards tell a story, and it's really important as a reader that you learn to interpret the pictures yourself. You don't learn a language by, like I said before, it's like learning tarot is like learning a language. You don't learn every word that you speak by looking it up in a book. You learn to speak words by speaking them, by hearing them, by the communication happening, and some kind of growth happening as a result of it. Okay, so now we're going to do a reading. I went over the Fool, the World, and the Aces, and now we'll do a reading, because, like I said, we don't, you have to have, that's like your vocabulary lesson, right? Your vocabulary lesson portion. And then, you have to be able to, do a reading. So I think I'm going to show you a different kind of spread. I showed you the Celtic Cross. I know I showed you the Celtic Cross because it's literally my favorite spread. It is the best spread. It is a superior spread in every single way. But I'm going to show you a couple of other readings that you can do. I talked a little bit about traps in tarot. There's a lot of traps in tarot. They're mental traps, and you can actually use tarot to get out of the traps. If you ever find yourself in a trap from using one of these small spreads that I've told you about, just clear it out and go back to the Celtic Cross, because the Celtic Cross is going to take you through the way to look at a problem or any situation, really. So I'm going to knock on my cards, okay, and I'm going to do a 3-part reading. So sometimes I'll do a reading where I want to get the basis of a problem. It's this is always for a small question. This is not for, it's always for like, when I say small, I mean like a more specific question, but we'll do like the basis of the problem. We do, you know, like basically it's sort of like past, present, future is one way to look at it. Or you can look at it as like the basis of the problem, the crux of the problem, the solution to the problem. So it's like, you know, a three parts. So, and in the center is like the central energy to it. And on the right, you're going into, and I do that because I read left to right. You're going into how to solve it. And then on the left, it's how did we get here? Okay. So let's see. Let's talk about, well, first of all, let's just figure out what the problem is. So I'm actually going to ask the cards to tell me what is our topic that we're going to do for our reading. What is our topic? That's going to go in the center. And oh, I got the world. And it was stuck together, right? So I took the cards out, and a lot of times, this happens a lot, you'll get two cards together. So we got the world card. I already talked about this card today, so I'm glad it popped up. It's really nice. Thank you, universe, for doing that. So that is like the completion of a cycle. And I got the Four of Swords, and the Four of Swords means healing, right? So what we have is the topic that we are going to talk about today, or, you know, for this reading, and like I said, this reading might be for you, is that this is the completion of your healing. You have run into a place in your life where you have completed a cycle that was about healing. All right. So pretty cool. So how did we get here? How did we get here? How did we get to this place where we've completed a cycle of healing? Oh, I got the Empress. Oh, I love the Empress in this deck. Look at her. She's gorgeous. She's pregnant with the world. So, and that is a really good way to think about the Empress. I really love this representation because this is what that energy is. It's about birthing a whole new world. So how did we get here to this place where we completed a healing of cycle, where, well, we needed to come into a whole new world. So, you know, in order to do that, I guess, in order to have this, to birth this whole new world, whatever it is, and this is a major arcana, so this is very, very important. This is an important action. So as here, we got the world card, so we're talking about nothing small here. It's these big events in life, okay? But like I said, what I feel this is saying is that in order to come into a new world, you know, to give birth to a new world, and look, you can see there's the world right here, and then what do we get next? The world card, right? So this is, in order for this to happen, you know, we have to heal. So that's what's there. Okay, now I'm going to look at how this gets resolved. How does it all get solved? So this is in, my final card is on the right. So this is a 3-part reading. And here is also, ooh, 2 fell out. I think I'm going to put them back in. That's just my intuition. I always tell you to take cards when they fall out, but they will, you'll find that when you don't do it, a lot of times they just come right back out. And if they're meant to come back out, they will. So yeah, so this third, whoa, now I had all these cards come out. Okay, all right, I'm listening. I'm gonna take these two because they were face up. Okay, so this, a lot of times, this part of the reading is where if you were gonna look at advice, you could take some advice. In general, I would say tarot is less about advice. It is more about revealing things that you hadn't been thinking about, looking at something in a different way. That is more what it is. So even when you ask for advice, that's how it's going to come out. That's how the advice is going to come out. So this is saying, I got the 9 of Cups and the 5 of Swords here. And remember, we went over the 5 of Swords today. So the 5 of Swords in this position, with this card, this guy had some defeat. he lost something. Remember, here's the shadow self. The shadow self is, you know, oh, and this is what the crow is telling him, you're a loser, you're no good, blah blah blah. And that kind of energy creates this shadow self that then goes on to be smug and try to beat other people. And that's that cycle that the Five of Swords is talking about. When you the one side is this guy right here is that's the petty victory, and this is the flip side of the petty victory, which is that somebody is just feeling bad about themselves, and then, you know, instead of overcoming it through healing, right, like we had here, they're overcoming it through doing that same thing to somebody else that someone did to them. Okay, and then we got the Nine of Cups, right? So Nine of Cups, interesting card. It really means joy, satisfaction, but depending on how it's paired, it can be an overindulgence, okay? A lot of times with cups, it can actually, cups refer to alcoholism. So not all the time, but they can. If you're getting like a lot of negative cards around cups, sometimes it can represent a drinking problem. This is a really negative card to get with the Nine of Cups. So I'm thinking that the Nine of Cups also like positively means like, you know, satisfaction, joy, but it's a personal type of joy. The Ten of Cups is the kind of joy that you get where the whole family is in harmony. The Nine of Cups is like a personal, satisfying joy. Paired with the Five of Swords, it's sort of pointing to a selfishness. Okay, so I feel like what we're getting here is that there's some kind of selfishness for whoever this reading is for. The cards are asking you to look at some kind of either selfishness or perhaps an overindulgence in your own needs, perhaps a literal overindulgence in alcohol or drugs. Pointing, the cards are pointing to that. And it's interesting that it came up here in this spot here. It suggests that this is what we need to heal from, even though it came up in this third position. Sometimes the story just has to be told that way. It looks like what the cards are saying for whoever this reading is for, in order to get that new world, in order to create, also the Empress is receptive energy. The Empress would be the divine feminine. So when I talked about divine femininity, it's being able to receive something, being able to prepare yourself or change yourself in order to solve a problem is Empress energy. So in order to get that, you need to complete a healing, okay? And you need to possibly stop drinking, or possibly deal with an overindulgence of selfish kind of energy. So that's what we got there. Okay, I think I'm gonna stop this lesson. I don't want them to be too long. It's 28 minutes, that's enough. I'll do another one.